I was watching what the Pelicans did with the Lakers picks. And remember, they still have Brandon Ingram. It wasn't just the number 4 pick. It was Brandon Ingram. It was Josh Hart. It was Lonzo Ball. Brandon Ingram has that compartmental syndrome, which apparently they think they fixed. The Lakers never loved Brandon Ingram. He was like the last of the Mohicans, the last guy selected during the Mitch Kupchak era. So he wasn't necessarily long for the Lakers. He was always part of trade bait, but he's a good player. He's a good player. He looks like he could be Durant. He feels like he could. He's not Kevin Durant. He's not. He doesn't shoot threes well. He's not as tall. He's not as good a rebounder. He's not as dynamic a player. He's just not. But he's a good asset to have, and he's a very good, versatile defender. Josh Hart, they felt like they got a steal when they got him. They kind of soured on him a little bit. When they tried to start him last year, he wasn't necessarily good enough to be a starter on a playoff caliber team. Good character guy, got a little bit in his own feelings, when things weren't going well for him. But look, Josh Hart's going to be a pro for 12 years, 15 years. And then Lonzo Ball, who's kind of the prize of this thing. But Lonzo Ball, the thought is at best he would be the 3rd best guard in his own draft class, right? The 3rd best guard. And he hasn't been healthy for an entire season. And I do think that he'll be really, really good. But you got to give to get. And then people go, well, the draft picks is the perfect example of how this thing could end amicably. I think David Griffin did an amazing job. Amazing job. Obviously, he's got picks upon picks to come from the Lakers. But remember, Zion Williamson is, in fact, a Halley's Comet. He's a Halley's Comet. He's a once-in-a-generation type player. It doesn't mean that he'll be as good as LeBron James, who is another once-in-a-generation type player. I'm just saying 6'5.5" dudes that can jump to the moon, defend every position, have no ego, are left-handed, like all the different things, have this play with this big smile on their face, are tough, can score the low post. They don't come along very often. And, of course, they traded out of the 4th spot and drafted Jackson Hayes, who I love. Jackson Hayes is like a JV player until his junior year in high school, and then didn't start till his senior year in high school. And then, he grew, he blossomed, and I think eventually he's got a chance to be a really good player. They traded out of the 10 pick and got Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who's from Virginia Tech, who's very talented. And then they got a kid from Brazil, who none of you have ever seen play, so I'm not going to bore you with it. The point is that Hayes, Alexander-Walker, and Silva, it's a crapshoot. And what David Griffin is doing is playing the numbers game. Now, it's the same thing that college football programs do. One superstar 5-star does not your program make. Right? You get 24 stars, or 10 4-stars and 12 3-stars. And the volume of your recruiting class, you develop, you nurture, and you put them in the right spot, and you find out who's going to become. And by the way, all of these future draft picks, you do know the draft is not getting older, it's getting younger. Most people have concluded, based upon what Adam Silver has said, that the one and done will go away and you'll be able to go straight out of high school, which means instead of drafting 19-year-old kids who aren't ready to play after playing a year in college, you're going to draft 18-year-old kids who aren't ready to play and haven't even gone to college yet. They've never been in a defensive stance. Right? They don't understand the first 2 rules of defense: stop the ball and guard the bucket. Right? All of these things. I'm overdoing it a little bit, but look, my dad was a college coach. I played for a great high school coach and now a great junior college coach. I got to Notre Dame and I felt like I had never played basketball before. It's just a different level. Forget the athlete. It's the attention to detail and the coaching and things that you have to learn. But I bring it up because, look, the Pelicans are never going to be able to get free agents. They're just not. One of the guys they trade away was Solomon Hill. That's to move picks, to get rid of that 4th pick and get the 8th pick and the 10th pick, but the 10th pick they end up moving out of that. They got rid of the Solomon Hill contract. And Solomon Hill was a guy who was with the Indiana Pacers, and they had to overpay in order to get him to come to New Orleans, and then he got hurt before he ever even played a game there, and it's a terrible, terrible contract. But why do you have to overpay to get Solomon Hill? Because you're in New Orleans. The only chance they have of being successful is to trade for a bad contract, like, when like the Drew Holiday deal, or a guy who, when front offices change, or to draft a guy. And the only way they can be successful drafting isn't, you can't pin your hopes on one draft pick. You got to do it with volume. Volume, 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 volume. Then you look at the Lakers. Do I think they overpaid? Probably. But the Lakers, they don't have to operate the same way the Pelicans do, or the Thunder do, or the Timberwolves do. Like, they don't have to, the Jazz do. They don't have to trade for or draft their best players. In theory, and really in practice, the Lakers have always been able to get the best players to come to Los Angeles. Right? Happened with Kareem. Happened with Shaq. I mean, frankly, it happened with Dwight Howard and late with Steve Nash, and those things didn't work. I mean, but it did, in fact, happen. Happened with LeBron, and now it's happened with Anthony Davis. I know they had to trade for Anthony Davis, but he wanted to be there. And so the point is that I look and I was like, all right, so what did they really give up? I like Lonzo Ball. But if it's Lonzo Ball or Anthony Davis, are we having this? If it's Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram for Anthony Davis, we're not having this conversation. Right? No one thinks those 3 players, who are good players, and are going to be NBA players. And you know what? Lonzo's got unique skills, man. He's a tremendous defender. He can rebound. He can really pass. He's got to learn how to shoot, and he's got to stay healthy. And, oh, yeah, by the way, he's got to figure out a way to have a better killer instinct. He gives up the ball way too quick. All that said, would you have freaked out if it was those 3 players for Anthony Davis? Who would you have said got the better end of the deal? You'd say the Lakers, right? You'd say, Lakers. They kicked David Griffin's ass 6 ways and sideways, right? And while you'd say, well, why didn't they trade the 4th pick? Because that 4th pick, if you draft a first rounder, he goes on your salary cap. And, oh, yeah, by the way, he's not going to help you win this year or next year, or even the year after that. So now that you see Jackson Hayes and Nikhil Alexander-Walker and Marcos Luzada Silva, like, do you still think that the Pelicans won the trade? No. Hi, I'm Doug Gottlieb from Fox Sports Radio, and you need to subscribe to the Fox Sports Radio YouTube channel where you can hear and see me. Why not? Plus everybody else who's awesome here on Fox Sports Radio.